Hey guys, welcome to Choppa History today. Sorry we didn't get you guys a show last week. We were kind of stuck in the moment. We were out at Born Free, which was an absolutely awesome event. So we were kind of on the run on Thursday. The three of us flew out to California. Flight was delayed. We couldn't get a rental car. It was a little chaotic. But Dad, tell everybody what you think of Born Free.
Born Free was, all I can say, it was unbelievable. The culture in Southern California is like nowhere else. The bikes that were there, I don't think there's anywhere else in the country that you could see the stuff that is at Born Free. Grant and Mike, the promoters, did an unbelievable job. The whole venue was awesome. It was a lot of walking, um, lots of bikes, lots of people. The weather was perfect. We met a lot of new friends and lots of old friends. I saw guys that I hadn't seen in many, many years, including Bill, who was on our show today, Billy McCahill. Um, Overall, Born Free was something else. We gave a paint award, best paint award, and it went to Hot Dog, who I've seen his work for years and years. He does beautiful work. He paints all the bikes for San Diego, uh,
But
San
Chip at
Diego,
San Diego Customs.
San Diego Customs, and we were proud to be able to give that award. But overall, Born Free is a don't miss show. We will definitely be back next year.
Yeah, so I had the honor of going to Born Free last year for Holly Davidson for the sports day that we redid. And literally since the moment I got there, I have been telling DP as well as his pal Bruce that we have to come back next year, that you guys would love that show. And here we are a year later and we did it, which I am so glad you got to see it, Dad. And so many people came up to me that don't necessarily know you, but know your history and stuff, and was like, man, that's so cool your dad's here, because it's a lot of FXRs and choppers and that kind of stuff, which is all your roots. So I know that you definitely made the show for a lot of people. So it was really cool to be out there, and you got to reconnect with pals like Billy McCahill.
Right, right,
So
yeah.
let's get to it and let's just bring him on. Hi
Hey,
Billy.
Bill.
Hello. How's everybody?
Good, good. You look nice and comfy there.
Yeah, just kicking back at the shop. We might get some noise. I'm in the front. But it's a pleasure to
That's
be here.
okay.
Thanks for inviting me. And it was really good seeing you guys out there in our own neck of the woods. Usually I'm out there by your guys. But
Yeah, yeah.
that Born Free
Well,
show is a nice show. It's kind of interesting because it is the old school chopper stuff. And you got the older flavor of the nicer stuff, but you got the youth coming again, and these kids, you got all the wheelie kids and all the FXR kids and everything that are exciting to me because they're into performance, and we've always been into performance, and in the olden days, kind of the Harley guys weren't as much performance, but now, man, they're taking it a little bit farther. So really enjoy that, looking at all that stuff.
for sure. Well, Billy, tell us about your history. From the early days, and I mean, you've got a very interesting history. Of course, we can't talk about everything on the air, but
Yeah, well, kind of. I started. I was born in Indiana, and we lived by the racetrack. And when I was little, I loved to go to the Indianapolis 500 and that kind of thing. So when I was about 5 years old, my mom packed us up with my uncle and my grandmother, and we head on out to California. And my uncle always had like dirt bikes and mini bikes and things. So probably at the age of 3 or so, they used to get me on there, and you know, I could get the throttle and the clutch, but once my legs were long enough, then he let me shift and stuff, right? So uh, I got into like dirt bikes and that. So my mom worked nights, and I don't want to say they wanted to dump me off and stuff, but wherever they could put me, where my mom could sleep or do things. I was an only child, so it was just me and my mom. So she was cool with motorcycles and stuff. They got me when I was like 5, they got me a little Hodaka 100 in a Bonanza mini bike frame. So that was a wicked little thing for a kid. And then, so at school, they'd come pick me up. Friday, we got out at 3:10, so we'd go out to the desert with the guys down the street, and we'd race motocross on Saturdays and go to desert races on Sundays. If there was like Baja 500 or Barstow Vegas or Elsinore Grand Prix in those days or that, we'd ditch the motocross and go do that. So I was always in, riding and around motorcycles and things. So um, being from Indiana, like I said, I was interested in trying to drive an Indy car, and I got an opportunity with John Force's uncle and his brother, and John to build a funny car, an NHRA car, and got to drive that with those guys for a while, and then got into some of the motorcycle stuff, because really I wanted to, let's say, never have a job that I wasn't happy to go to, and that sort of thing was cool. So there I went, and got into making electrical, believe it or not, and we did some starters, and that led to charging kits and some ignition stuff, and all kinds of things throughout the years. We made a lot of different parts, and had a great time doing it. So kind of my background and that sort of thing. But
So,
we've had a lot of
you know,
different things.
all the performance stuff, and then of course Spike, with the starters, and you developed a lot of parts. You were doing ignitions, and tell us about that when you started Spike.
Well, I would kind of look at the bikes and things, and like your guys' old bikes and your and Donnie's and everybody's, everything was perfect except for the starter. Um, they just didn't have the look, let's say. And at that time, a lot of compression and things, so they're very difficult to start. You didn't have as nice, lithium batteries or that sort of thing. And space was always an issue. Everybody wanted to put the littlest battery they could get in there and hide everything and stuff.
Yeah.
So I decided to try and build a good starter, and one that looked pretty too, So that got us into really doing a pretty good job, I think, in those days with the starters and stuff. And, that led us to, we did, when Norton came back, we did that. We did the Modus ones. And the bike building days really was good for Spike. And later on, we decided that we were kind of, let's say, I don't want to say beaten up on our competitor, but CompuFire was really our main competitor, did almost everything similar to us. So we purchased them out of bankruptcy, and then let's say we had both sides. So that made it a lot easier. Made it a lot easier to do that sort of thing. But we sold that Spike and CompuFire maybe about 6 years ago. So I had non-competes in electrical and all that, so that's all gone now. And when Lou passed away with STD, probably maybe about 12 years ago, we purchased the assets at STD, and that got us into some of the cylinder heads and all the things that Lou used to build at STD. And lately, the last little bit, we've been more focused with some of our buddies and more of that into making wheels and brake components and that sort of thing for some of our buddies that do very well in that wheel business.
Yeah. Now, are you still doing STD stuff?
We do, but we don't really. It's more friends and family. Like it's been really difficult. The castings are done at a very high-end aerospace facility, and with all the military stuff going pretty, strong. I don't want to say we're real moochy, but we're kind of moochy for that facility. And
Yeah.
the costing has been incredible to really make smaller runs. So,
Yeah.
we've got a bunch of other stuff still left. So, pan heads are really popular still. Never can make enough pan heads. And the um, let's call it race stuff is really kind of coming back a lot because in the nostalgia classes, a lot of them, you can't use billet. They want to use castings, and Lou's always ran that 355 material, the aluminum. It's a very good material, and so we'll do it one day maybe. Uh, We've always gave some heads and some different components to the Born Free guys. They've been always great to us, being in our backyard and everything. And so we'll see. We'll see, Dave.
Yeah, well, a couple of years ago, I think maybe 2 years ago, I built a pretty cool panhead, a little different style, and I did a whole basically an STD motor. I used a set of STD heads and a set of STD cases, and it worked out great. I love the fact that it's got the 3-bolt flange, on the heads. That's such a huge advantage, over the stock.
The STD has around, about 50 different cylinder head castings. And
really?
yeah, everything from fuelers. And what's kind of interesting about the way they did when Lou designed the heads, and we purchased it mainly to keep it alive and to keep everything in one place. When Lou passed away, he left it to the employees, and then the employees had a deal that nobody liked. So it became a court issue, which we came in then and got our attorneys to make a deal for both sides on a Friday before it went to court on a Monday. So that enabled us to keep everything. And the cylinder heads are interesting on the pan heads, like you're talking about, because basically what it is, it's a shovel head intake with a 3-bolt exhaust. So there's a replica, and then there is morphs, let's call it. Same thing with Evo and Twin Cam and a bunch of different castings in that. And of course, all the tall deck cases. Every transmission case, every 4-speed. Probably one of the only people left with FXR cases and inner and outer primaries that I look at every day. They're sitting there in the machine. We need one op just for the motor mounts and that sort of thing. They're sitting in there, but you can only do so much every day. And
oh yeah, right. I know.
Having a good time anyway.
Yeah. Billy. One thing that I always remember, and whenever your name comes up, Keith Ball. I mean, this is going way back. Keith Ball told me he stopped over to see you one day, and Keith said, "That guy is unbelievable. He's got a computer that's water cooled." Which nobody had a water cooled computer back then. I always remember Keith was so impressed with that.
Well, like the meta and all that. course, we need some strong computers for some of the 3D stuff. In those days, it was really difficult, you know, to pull up big files and to join them together and stuff. So there was, it's called Second Life, and that's what he was talking about. And that's kind of like the 3D meta stuff. So, you know, when it first opened, oh shoot, it was probably 25 years ago, it was the only thing we could do. You didn't see too many water pumper computers, and that was the only way we could keep them cool. And so it's a lot of fun. And I see the meta stuff now and all the 3D things that, you know, are coming along, the AI stuff and all that. You know, I think everyone's, the biggest problem is everyone's going to need some water-cooled computers to be able to watch that stuff. You know, phone is not going to work, I don't believe. I really don't.
Yeah, yeah. So you're cutting a lot of wheels, are you?
Yeah. You know, we're kind of a, you know, the Maytag repairman when no one comes and that they don't see us, like, you know, so it's, you know, a lot of the of our friends that we cut for and some of those things. We don't go bragging. We don't, you know, go around and trying to do that. But, you know, there are our partners in business, and we try our very best to bring, you know, the best kind of thing we can. So we've enjoyed some pretty good projects that make it really worth it in the end. You know, some of the Indian stuff and some of the S&S stuff with the dirt trackers, and then the FTRs, you know, started coming out in that. And so it's been kind of fun doing that sort of thing. Got to get some wheels and stuff on the one Daytona with the set, you know, made S&S gave us, I don't know, Dave, like 2 weeks or 3 weeks to make, you know, 7 sets of 3D, you know, and then of course they want them all light and that. So, you know, we came back and had to color them all in again. They wanted 50 thou wall everywhere, and some really bitchin' hubs and some other things. So, you know, that's always a challenge, you know, to be able to pull that off. But I think they know us well enough, and, you know, it's kind of funny, you know, S&S and STD in the old days, people think we all battle with each other and all that, when we're all really good friends and wish the best for everybody. So, you know, it's not it's a fun business and some really good people and some good old friends that I've been lucky enough to meet along the way, for sure.
Right. Yeah. You know, I've got an FXR out to Born Free. That was the bike I was riding, and it had a set of wheels that you did a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you know, nice product.
Hey, Billy. So I wanted to get to, so you sent me this picture.
Yeah.
Tell me about Bonneville.
Yeah. You know, we built a bike. We've had some street pro stuff and some of our friends that we've sponsored and been able to go have some fun racing. You know, we want to go out there and have fun and not embarrass ourselves and stuff, right? So we built it was a flash bike. You know, you used to be able to go to Sturgis and fastest legal all street Harleys, right? So, you know, you go on a 60-mile ride and you go to the drag strip, and then you race everybody and everything, and you see who whips on who. So we were lucky enough to win that a few times. And so we built a bike for that, and they canceled it. And it was like, crap, you know, we have a bitchin' bike, and so what do we do with it? So my buddy Bob Moreland and stuff, we were talking and said, okay, let's take this bike and go to Bonneville, you know? And so we took a single motor bike and went out there and messed around a little bit and said, you know, crap, this isn't going to make it. So we're going to have to take and build, like the old days, we'll put a couple motors in it. So the 145 program was going with S&S and stuff. And we were had another company that we did very well, probably one of the biggest builders that no one would realize back in those days, of motor builders and stuff. when all the bike building stuff was going. So, we built also some transmissions and stuff. So that was going good. So we decided, okay, if what was it, 5 builders built 8 bikes,
Right. Yep.
45th anniversary SNS, 100-year Harley
Yeah.
Davidson, 145. Each builder got 145, 145s to be able to sell. So so we got those ones from Minneapolis, from Pat Matter when he quit the program. He was one of the builders in there, and so we were able to buy those motors. And then I think we got half of Corey and Arlen's 145s. So we had a bunch of 145s. So let's just take some 145s and put them together, and let's go to Bonneville and run this thing, see what happens. So Bubs was having their very first deal, and so that was wasn't Southern California Racing. It was an AMA FIM, I believe. Old records that were old, like back then. The 750 Honda, I guess, was something big, from those days. And they made a rule like they didn't have unlimited class. That is unlimited, where you can put any motor that you want, partial streamline. We have the current unlimited partial streamline, fuel and gas, Bonneville and El Mirage records current still. But anyway, we hadn't ran this thing, and we're going to go to Bonneville, and there's a picture there of El Mirage and Bonneville both. We have El Mirage and Bonneville records, fuel.
Yeah.
But we ran it naked too a couple times. I think I sent you a picture of it naked. But anyway, so we're going to go to this thing, and it paid, I don't know what it was, for fastest sit-down motorcycle, paid money, push rod, American paid money. Yeah, there's a shot of the motors. So that's when it was naked. So there is no unlimited, so we could run what you brung for the money. So we figured, you know what, we're going to go run for the money. Let's go out there. And so we already had a long course sticker on it. So, we were cool there with that. And so we wouldn't run for a record. And it ran, on gasoline, we were having trouble the whole time. That thing was never really made a full pull. We're running carburetors on it, and the fuel regulators, the carburetors don't like to have too much fuel pressure. And we'd tried Hollies and different things and rattled them to death, where it just starts, it's so fat that it's just puking, shooting ducks. It'll run 200 in third gear and then start shooting ducks, and you get a couple pops in there. It ran 218. So it was funny. We decided we're going to spray it. We had it set up, we're going to spray it now. And we probably figured it's got to be making at least 650 horse. So part of the problems were we're going to have to do a transmission. The Harley trannies weren't really, it's not hooking that hard, but so we made some transmissions where we put a bar, we moved all the gears around and put a 500 thousandths bar in between each gear so they couldn't roll over each other, and put a big bandit clutch in it and stuff. And so it hadn't ran yet. We haven't even done anything. So Bob's going to go ride it, and things like pop, 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 making like scratches in the salt, rubber, it's popping every little bit and everything. So he whacks it a little bit, and it just rips the bandit out of the thing. So we were kind of bummed, like, golly. So we just bolted the clutch all back together and everything. It didn't have a clutch, and you're really not supposed to tow and stuff, but there was really no one there at that Bubs thing back there. So we towed it and got it, he smashed it into gear and ran. And the picture, you can see his head kind of in there a bit. What happened was it's kind of funny. The nitrous button unscrewed, and he has his head in there, and he's putting the nitrous button back on. That's what he's doing in there in that picture. So he gets it all back in there and everything, and it was on a pass, and we broke both front rods on both motors at the same time and just killed both of them. But it still rolled through there at 217 and change, and so we got the money and all the stuff. Everyone was protesting and all that stuff and everything. So yeah.
Where is that bike today?
What's that?
Where is that bike today, Billy?
It's still over at Moreland's, and it's ready to run. It's right now it's got one big throttle body on it. We got rid of the D's and stuff, and it's tuned. The motors are off each other by some degrees. Don't really want to get into it. It breaks primary chains and stuff if you're not happy with the offset of the front to rear motor, and it likes it to pull a bit. But it's all set up with one big throttle body and tuned separately as two motors, almost like a 4-cylinder. So we're looking forward to run it. I mean, it should run 300. I mean, it should, with a good body on it. That's why we started taking the body out. The new bodies are so much better. We call them cheater bodies.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Who are you gonna have running?
Bob Moreland. It's always been over there, and him and John Noonan always were running together for a lot of years, and put boosas and stuff into I think number one, a couple years in a row in car and motorcycle, like first, third, fifth, seventh, with some sidecar stuff and that. But he's been racing FX, FX cars and stuff, and drag racing and stuff, and doing his shop things, and we'll get the bug again and the urge, and it's ready to run. Climb on it and run. I don't ride as much anymore. Remember in Sturgis, I broke my neck and was paralyzed, for a while there, and had to stay there for a while, and was paralyzed neck down for about 4 months.
Oh, shit. What happened?
We took Bertha, we call it. Harley night out here has been going on for a long time, all the dirt track stuff and all that. So we built it was Branch's old dyno bike at FXR that they were done with and everything. They're kind of neighbors from us. So they were done with it. So we got that, and a good friend of mine, Damian Gregory, was old dirt tracker and stuff. And so we're going to go to Harley night and go whip them. So I won that twice in the old days. They used to do it once a year, not as much as they used to do. And it kind of went down here. So when we went to Sturgis, they brought the bike, and I didn't know we were doing stuff. They go, "Hey, it's raining and stuff. Let's go out to the hills and go to the fire roads and stuff. What could go wrong there, right?" So I go, "I don't have nothing to ride out there." We brought Bertha. Oh, bitchin', let's go. So we're out there in the fire roads, and there, and it was raining and pretty bad, and there was a big giant rock, real slick, and so I kind of backed it in there, and you get a little drive, so I whack it a couple times, and it's just spinning crazy, and getting more sideways like, and so I point and shoot it. It hits the rev limiter, I shift it, and then it comes off of that real slick shit and catches and bites, gnarly high side. Pulled my arms and hurt my spinal cord, my nerves, yanked those back out, broke my neck, was over the side of the hill, and pretty messed up bad. So
What year was that?
2002.
Oh,
so I'm still getting better and all that, but I just can't take a big hit,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't be good.
You're lucky that you recovered from that. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I was really blessed. If you're religious, I'm blessed. If you're not, I'm lucky. It was an experience because, of course, they're saying that I was in denial. That just get over it. You're done. And I had a really, really good doctor out there. People don't realize they bring in some of the best surgeons from all over the world for Sturgis. You know, they're all in there. And I asked the guy, I was like barely, you know, kind of knocked out. And I go, you know, are you a podium guy? Have you ever done this before? Because he goes, you got two choices. I was only paralyzed on one side. And you got two choices. I can snap you back together and you're going to be paralyzed there. Or I can take some of your bone and your leg and some of your pieces and rebuild it. And so I go, okay. You know, have you ever done this before? Are you, what's your credentials? He goes, I'm a infant spinal cord reconstructionist and, you know, newborns and stuff. And I said, so, you know, pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. I go, how you feel today, Doc? He goes, great, let's roll. Let's go for it. So I woke up the next day, couldn't move, neck down, and my vision was upside down. Your brain sees it the other way, and I thought, oh crap. He goes, you know what, man? I did my best. I said, well, you know, all right. So I said, let's start therapy. And you know, it took a bit. You know, I got my one side. This side's still kind of really very weak. You know, and I don't like needles and stuff, but they took me to the psychiatrist, psychologist. There's more things on the wall and stuff. Once I was able to start moving a bit, and they made me a deal that they would share all these things, because what they did is they took needles and put them between all my fingers, all my toes, my whole body, down my whole spine, and hooked them to this machine and these wires. And your brain has like 10 milliamps or something, and it goes down your nerves, and that's what makes your fingers and everything work and stuff, right? So sometimes when I kind of like grab at it, it's like in slow motion. So I only get 2 milliamps to this side and don't get the full down, you know? So they were checking all that. They can make your fingers go, your arms move by flipping switches and putting that juice to it. So it was an interesting thing. And they just kept staying with me, and, you know, you can do it. And, you know, mentally, I think a lot of people, when they tell you you're done, I think we're done. You know, if you just don't quit and keep fighting for it.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
it makes you think about having another life and a second shot at everything, you know?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it does.
It's incredible.
Sure it
Really.
does.
But
So, Jody, you got any more questions for Billy?
Yeah, I want to hear about drag racing. Some more about drag racing.
Yeah.
Drag racing was a lot of fun. John and his Uncle Beeve. Uncle Beeve is the LA Hooker, the old Conda brothers, and a lot of different guys. Was just a bitch in a soul, man. You would have loved this guy. And I met a couple friends of mine, and we were out one night, and they had an old car and stuff. And so we were talking, and we just decided to put a couple bucks into that thing. Let's just all go out to the track and have some fun. So that happened for a little bit, and then we decided to build a car. And I was really lucky from a lot of gearhead friends and a lot of different people to really make it possible to even try it. You know, back then you didn't have to make as many things, but you know, I knew some pretty good machinists and gearheads and stuff. So they helped me. I was a kid, I was young. I was this was in 79 or so. So a while ago. And we built a car, and the world champion from 79, Kelly Brown, Over the Hill Gang guys and all that, were retiring. So we were able to get their crew, a world champion crew, and I went with John, and we went and messed around and had a lot of fun. And we ended up building another car the Dr. Pepper car, and we had some pretty good sponsors back then. KROQ Radio, the Rock of the '80s, was the #1 radio station, like in our LA area, and very expensive advertising and stuff. So what we used to do is, with a promoter friend of mine, we do some drag races and mud bogs and different things in promotion, and then that got us into some concerts and things. So KROQ was good because we could trade radio spots in a high-end area for our sponsors and then get them a deal. So we got an advertising deal, and then DirecTV started and that sort of thing, and we almost had the first commercials and all the rest of it. Pretty good deal with Jump Starship and ZZ Top and Rod Stewart, and everyone was all kind of arguing with each other because no one wanted to have the Pro Stock car. Who's going to get the funny car or the dragster and a Pro Stock, right? So that was kind of interesting and fun back then, but had some those troubles and quit racing in 1984, and then returned, let's call it back to life, in 1992, and that's when I had to go look for something that I enjoyed to go work. So I used to do jewelry. I was a diamond broker and made a lot of jewelry, had some jewelry shops and that. So tried that for a little bit. That wasn't as fun as
right.
Do you think that drag racing now is dramatically different?
Yeah, the cars are quicker. A lot more money nowadays. I mean, it takes some tremendous dedication and money and that. It would be, for me, it would be a lot harder for someone to give them a ride now, without their own stuff. If you look, it's just a couple teams. Of course, Force is always going to be there, and you look at him hanging there, still driving, still loving it, and I'm sure he's just going to keep driving till he goes one day. He loves it. What's he going to do? I can't see John just sitting there doing that. But it was kind of cool too. With that, we were able to build the Dr. Pepper car you see there. Ed Pink, I saw they're coming out with a 871 blower, let's say, and what the heck is that? They're running 6s and they're coming out with an 8. So I'm a dummy and I ask questions and stuff. So I go, what do we do there? I go, can't we just saw 2 8s in half and let's make what is something, why mess around, dude? Let's just go. So there wasn't big enough injectors, and they were making bug catchers back then. So, we want to suck birds through it. So we decided we call them a bird sucker, bird catcher with Indulate, and made some mag. And then, so we decided to make a really bitchin' car. And Pluger was probably one of the best car chassis builders. They did a lot of them. And that's what we always ran. And so we made an interesting kind of car. High gear, they're running 2 speeds in them. And we got rid of the transmission in it and made a very, very light car. Everything tied, every bolt, the can, aluminum rear end even, and one parachute instead of 2, all mag 10, mag seat, very dangerous. But at the time, there was a lot of match racing. So an NHRA car had to weigh in, not a a match racer car. So it was probably 400 pounds light, and one of the bitchinest cars I think was ever built. And
how fast were those cars? That particular car, how fast?
In our day, nobody ran 250 yet, let's say, at the start, 250 miles per hour, let's say, right? And it was a full quarter mile then. And the lockup clutches were really probably the limitation. Bernstein started whipping on everybody, when he had a lockup, let's say, before anyone. you could just lock it up at the end and, you know, and it was kind of unbeatable. So, you know, we ran in the high 240s and close a couple times, you know, to the first 250s. And then nitrous came and people started running 250s. And then they banned nitrous. And back then, too, you know, a record was in the early beginnings like 599. So the fives were just starting to hit. So the cars were competitive, you know, in that sort of thing. And but it was a lot of fun, and still we're losing some of them now. But some of the best gearheads, you know, that I was lucky enough to be able to ask any questions, and you know, you miss some of them, like Hank the Crank. I'm sure you know Hank the Crank, heard of him before, and you know, with all the stroker stuff, and then you know, when Chevrolet wanted to build a motor or something, you know, they'd bring him to build a stroker, you know, thing to that. So, you know, he did all the cranks for, you know, all the NASCAR guys when they had qualifying cranks and, you know, a run crank.
Yeah.
And miss all those guys, you know, Nick Arias and all them used to help me tremendously. You know, you take it for granted. You want a piston, you can just get a piston in a day, you know. I mean, take that for granted. And then, you know, Jack Sparks on Perillo back then. And so, you know, we had any rod we wanted or anything we wanted. Kind of hard to do without that, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. You have to.
Yeah. Well,
So what do you think,
that's very cool.
Yeah.
Sorry. All right, Billy. Well, we don't want to
All right,
you know,
guys.
take
You
up too
guys
much
have
of
a
your
good
day.
one.
You have
Thanks
quite the
for inviting me.
colorful past.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
You guys have a wonderful day. And I'll talk to you
Yeah,
Yeah.
soon.
Hey, thanks a lot, Billy. I'll talk to you soon.
No worries. Take care. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Bye, Bill.
All right, guys. So that was our show. Something I want to mention that I forgot, we haven't done a show since then, but our bike night last Wednesday was awesome. So thank you guys, everybody that came out to it. It was packed here. If you were here, you know, it was one of the busiest ones we've ever had. So the next one is July 19th. So mark your calendar. If you weren't here, come on out to it. If you were here, you know what a good time it was. One of our sponsors is also Law Tigers. So shout out again to Law Tigers for sponsoring Chopper History and Perowitz Bike Night. And also Flower and Soul, which is the cannabis shop right down the street, literally a tenth of a mile. They were also one of our sponsors of Bike Night. So a shout out to both of them, Lawn Tigers and Flower and Soul, for sponsoring Bike Night, which so the next one is July 19th and then August 16th. So if you guys are in this area or want to come on out to our Bike Night, those are the next dates, July 19th and August 16th. So I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that. I think that's it. You got anything else, Dad?
No, I think we covered it. Like Jody said, our bike night was really, you know, when I tell people, you know, we had close to 500 bikes here. And man, it was so busy. It just flew by. I was pulled in 50 different directions the whole night. But it was a great time. You know, everybody had a really good time. So
Yeah.
if you're around, come to our next bike night. And thanks again for our sponsors, for Chop History, Law Tigers. And I think that's about it.
Yeah. All right. So we will be back next week for another show. We're working on some guests for the next couple weeks, and then we will be out in Sturgis already. So that's like about a month away. So we're gonna have some good shows in the next couple weeks, and then with Sturgis coming up. But we hope to see all you guys. So that's the next bike night, Wednesday, July 19th. So I guess that's it. We'll catch you guys next week.
Okay. See you next week.